first of all, guys, I'm no logger, that's for sure. I do a little bit of firewood. We're here on this property. We're clearing a lot out for a cottage, and there's some pretty good hemlock here. You know, I just want to show what I've witnessed on other channels on YouTube, the proper way to cut trees down, because I know I was doing it wrong before. I was jamming my saw up. I was barber chairing trees. It's a wonder I didn't hurt myself. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm still learning. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be safe, and I'm just putting this video out. I can show what I've learned from the experienced loggers that have posted videos in the past. So the first thing you want to do, you want to make sure you got your proper PPE on, hard hat, saw pants, gloves, screen that you can pull down, or some safety glasses. That's the first thing. Second thing you want to do before you approach the tree, stand back and have a good look up top. There might be a limb hanging there, just ready to come down. As soon as you start cutting, the vibration from the saw causes that limb to come down, land on your head or on your back. They call those widowmakers for a reason. So you just want to have a good look up top, make sure there's nothing ready to fall, nothing hanging before you start cutting. Even before you go in and start clearing a path, you want to have a look as you're approaching the tree. Have a look at up top, make sure there's nothing there for a danger. You want to make sure you got a clear path in case you got to jump out of the way in a hurry if things go wrong when you're cutting the tree. Now there's quite a few different cuts that you can make. The most common are one's called the Humboldt and one's called the conventional. The one I use the most is conventional, and we'll demonstrate that now. So that's called the conventional cut there, and you can see I still have some cleanup to do. I want to make sure that it's nice and clean where the two cuts join. You want to take about, I took a little more there, but normally you want to take about 1/3 of the tree for your wedge cut. Now the Humboldt cut, instead of coming down on a slant from the top, you'd come in from a slant on the bottom and straight in at the top. The advantage of the Humboldt cut is when the tree falls off the stump, the butt of this tree lands on the ground first, so the butt hits first and then kind of lays the tree down. So if you're logging for lumber, big spruce, where there's so much weight in those big trees, you don't want that tree to shatter as it hits the ground. So as the Humboldt cut, this here hits first the ground and it kind of lays the tree down. The conventional, when it comes off, normally the top of the tree will lay on the ground first, and then the butt hits of the tree, the log. The disadvantage of the Humboldt is when you're coming up from the bottom and going in at the top, you leave a little more stump. So if you're cutting firewood, you're going to leave a little more on the stump, which is no big deal. You just cut it off later. The disadvantage of the conventional is if you are logging some nice spruce or fir logs or cedar, you have a greater chance of that tree shattering when it hits the ground, breaking up on you, because like I said, the top's going to hit first and then the butt of the tree will hit last, you know, most times. So I'm going to clean that up just a little bit and then we'll have another look at it. So that's pretty good, as you can see there. Both of them are joined good. The main thing, one thing you don't want to do is when you make your cross cut or your wedge cut, make sure you don't come in too far. So if you're wedging and you happen to cut down here, and when you make your cross cut, you still have this cut here. When you cut the back side, it's going to jam up on you when that tree falls. This cut, when this cut is too long down in here, it's going to bind. And I'll show you in a demonstration later. And that's what causes the barber chair effect. It puts a lot of stress, a lot of tension on the back side of this tree because it's binded in here. When I start cutting back here and the tree starts to fall, it binds up in here because it's been cut too deep. So that's one thing you want to make sure, is make sure you got a nice clean joint. And you want to leave about 10%. When I start cutting on the back side, I want to leave about 10%, the width of a 2x6, or maybe a little wider, for holding wood. And that'll keep your tree stable, and you can direct the tree where you want it to fall. If you take too much of that holding wood, you got a dangerous tree then. There's nothing holding it from side to side. It can go anywhere. So as you can see there, I cut into my holding wood a little bit on this corner, but you can see that that's your holding wood there. So I just want to show you what I meant by cutting too deep in your wedge cut. We'll just use this small tree. It might not even work. It's got a pretty good lean on it, but we'll try it for demonstration. I don't want to do it on a big tree because it's very dangerous. Been lucky in the past, I haven't got hurt. So we'll try it here and I'll show you what I mean. You would want right there, a nice clean cut, nice clean joint. I went a little excessive there, but you see what I mean. If you go past your joint, now if this was a big tree, now when I cut this back side, it's going to start leaning and it's going to press up against this, and it's going to cause a pile of tension back here. So when I cut and leave my 10% holding wood, that tree's not going to fall, even if it's leaning the way you want it. It's bound up in here. Now you've got a pile of tension from all the weight of the top of that tree. It's all in here, the tension. So when you start cutting the back side coming in, all this pressure, you know, 9 times out of 10, that tree's going to explode on you. It's going to barber chair on you. It's going to all come apart in strands. And that's very dangerous. That's what you don't want. That, or it's just going to jam and sit there, and you're not going to know how to get the tree down. You're going to have to try and do a new cut up top. It's a very dangerous situation right here. And that's pretty much just the main point, what I wanted to get across in the video today. Because I was always doing this, you know. I wasn't making that nice clean wedge cut. I didn't know. So thankful for the experienced guys. They put it on there. So hopefully somebody else learns off of this video. And it's the same thing if I bring my top cut down and my cross cut in. If I went in too far on the cross cut, it's the same thing. The tree's just going to put pressure on that one spot and cause a dangerous situation in the back. So let's just try in the back and see what it does. Like, tree's got a really big lean on it, so it's probably going to let go anyway. See, and that's what happens right there. You had to go through your holding wood to cut the tree down because it wasn't cut properly with the wedge. And now you got a tree, you know, if it didn't barber chair on you, you got no holding wood holding it, so it spins off the butt and you don't know where it's going to go. Okay, so you get a small tree. You get a small tree cut down like this one in front of me here. There was times before I watched guys, experienced guys, on how to cut it properly, I was always getting my bar jammed because I would cut from the top and cut down in. So, you know, I'd put my saw here and I'd cut down and bang, oh, it would jam right about here somewhere because the tree is touching on that end and it's touching on that end. So what that does, it forms a compression on the top and your tension is on the bottom. So it wants to kind of split itself open, right? Because of the tension, it wants to release. So on the top you got compression. So what you want to do, you want to make a cut about quarter depth of the tree on the compression side and then come down at the bottom and work your way up through the tension, and that cut you made at the top will allow this tree to compress at the top and give you more gap for your chain, your bar to come up through and make the cut. If you was to just come through the top on the compression side like I said I used to, you'd get down about halfway and this would compress so tight that it would jam your saw, and then you're going to need some help or another chainsaw to free it up or ruin your bar and have to buy a new bar. About quarter way. Now I'm going to come up from the bottom. And your bar won't jam and you can make the cut. Now see, if you fell a tree and it's like this here where the butt is off the ground and only the top of the tree is touching the ground, that's when you can come in and make a cut from the top and all the way through to the bottom on that tree. So you're not going to have to worry about jamming your bar cutting from the top down in a situation like this. The more you do, the more you get better at. The more practice.